ਸੋ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੀ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਫਿਰ ਆਪ ਸਭ ਦਾ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਸੈਗਮੈਂਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਕਰਾਵਾਂਗੇ ਬਰੂਸ ਹੇਨ ਨਾਲ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਸਰੀ ਫਸਟ ਤੋਂ ਕਾਉਂਸਲਰ ਦੇ ਉਮੀਦਵਾਰ ਹਨ। 2012 ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਚੁਣੇ ਗਏ ਸੀ ਕਾਉਂਸਲਰ। ਕੀ ਕੁਝ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ, ਅੱਗੇ ਕੀ ਕੁਝ ਇਹ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਉਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਬਰੂਸ ਹੇਨ ਨਾਲ। Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So Bruce, 2012, I remember you were new into civic politics, so it's been about 3 years. What has been your experience being a councillor?
Well, it's been marvelous. We've had the opportunity to do a lot in the city in just a short period of time. I've had the opportunity to chair a couple of different committees that are of great interest to me. So I feel like we've gotten a lot done in the past 3 years, and I'm looking forward to the next 4.
Right. One of the committees which you had was innovation and investment. So tell us a little bit about during the past 3 years, what has been done, how has Surrey attracted investors, and what has been done over here?
Well, we've done a lot of work with investment. Our economic development strategies have been working, particularly at Innovation Boulevard, which is a 1 kilometer stretch from Simon Fraser University down King George to the hospital. And Innovation Boulevard is attracting investors, it's attracting clinicians, doctors, and startup companies creating medical technology devices, software, and so on for the patient community, and it's really attracting international acclaim.
So when you talk about this Innovation Boulevard, and now the City Hall is also moved over there, what are we foreseeing in the future? What kind of development do you expect? Is it just going to be development of high skyscrapers, or something else also would be seen over here?
Well, City Centre has we have the opportunity. We're building a brand new City Centre, and that is really exciting. There are a lot of skyscrapers planned for the area for high density. Obviously, with transportation corridor there, we want to have the density there. There's going to be office towers and so on, but there's also going to be opportunities for civic engagement and things like that. So as we start to develop out, there'll be opportunities for more things like that.
You have been a chair of the Environment Sustainability Group also. So when we talk about development, because generally when we talk about development, then environment sustainability kind of goes to the background. But how have you, with your experience, been able to kind of focus on this particular issue, that this needs to be looked into?
Well, it really does, Harpreet, and what we're doing with the Environmental Sustainability Committee is to take a look at the development long term and see how we can do it in a sustainable manner. And one of the things that staff and us have been working on very hard is the new biodiversity conservation strategy. Now that's a long word to describe looking at what the biodiversity is in the city that we have now, and looking at how we can preserve that for generations to come, and looking at how much land we need to do that. And we've determined that we need about 10,000 acres to be able to sustain the habitat that we have in the city, to sustain the biodiversity.
Right.
10,000 acres, to give you just a quick idea, is about 10 Stanley Parks.
Wow.
So the good news is that we already have a lot of that land under city control, and we will be acquiring some of that land through the development process, riparian area setbacks and so on, that are dedicated to the city when development occurs. And then there's some land, probably about 1,000 or 1,200 acres, that the city is going to have to buy over the next 10 to 20 years to complete that strategy. But that's going to be a legacy for generations to come, and I'm very proud of that.
And as we hear that every month in Surrey, 1,000 to 1,200 people come, and everybody wants to settle down in Surrey. And with that haphazard development also, there has been talk about that to give shelter to these people, you need more development. So what are we forcing in the future? What kind of development do you think? Is it going to be in the form of vertical or horizontal? What's going to happen?
Well, what we don't really want to see is urban sprawl. And so we've concentrated on our town centers, and as well on our transportation corridors. So as you're aware, we're working very hard to get an LRT transit system down King George, along 104th and diagonally down Fraser Highway to connect our town centers. And so what we were looking at is higher density along those transportation corridors, higher density in our town centers, so that we can put less pressure on our agricultural land and so on in the city. So it's planned development, it's sustainable development. So yes, we're developing, yes, more people are coming, and that's a good thing for a city. If you look at a city where it's shrinking and where people are leaving, that's a terrible thing for a city. You look at Detroit as sort of a terrible example of that, but there's others in Canada as well, where the population is shrinking. And that means that jobs are leaving, that means investments leaving, and that's simply not good for a city.
Right. You were also instrumental in setting up economic investment zones in the city, and you were working on this particular issue. Could you elaborate and tell our viewers what exactly has happened?
Well, we had an economic investment zone in city center, and when we started to construct the new city hall and the library and so on in 3 Civic Plaza, we set up economic investment zones in city center, and we've had $3 billion worth of infrastructure investment in city center since we decided to move there, either currently in the ground or in the planning department. So it's clearly that is working, and we're going to look at other areas of the city, the Newton Town Centre and so on, as we redevelop the Newton Town Centre plan. We're looking at economic investment zones there and so on to stimulate the kind of investment and driving the kind of economy. Cities don't create the economy. We simply create the environment for the economy, and that's what we're attempting to do.
Right. So when you talk about that environment, you personally have a background in business. So anywhere where the public wants to live, they also want jobs also. So you said you're creating environment for that, because you can't provide the jobs, but you can create an environment for that. We would like to know what kind of environment is being created, like apart from setting up these economic zones, but along with that, are you working in tandem with the business people also, the small businesses, Surrey Board of Trade, because you were involved with them also for a long time? So what all is being done?
Well, there's a great deal being done, quite frankly. We do work with the boards of trade. We also work with the BIAs, the Downtown Surrey BIA, and just recently we've helped set up the Newton BIA. So there's a new BIA in Newton. So we're working closely with them. I realize that small business is the backbone of any economy. I've owned a business in Surrey for 23 years, and so I know what it's like to write a paycheck. I know what it's like to carry on business in this city, and so that's what I'm working towards. As well, we have the most undeveloped industrial land of any municipality in the region.
Right.
And that, for Surrey, is such a jewel, and we cannot let that industrial land be rezoned and redeveloped into other purposes. So things like Campbell Heights, we've got new businesses moving to Campbell Heights all the time. A business that's outgrown its space in Burnaby, for instance, simply can't often afford to buy a larger place in Burnaby or Vancouver or Richmond.
Right.
They're looking to Surrey, and they're coming here, they're bringing their investment, and they're bringing their jobs. And that will allow more and more people, more and more Surrey residents to live and work right here. So they won't have to cross any more bridges. They won't have to put that pressure on our transportation infrastructure, because they can work right here at home, and that's the goal.
Right. And Bruce, because more and more people are settling over here, so commuting is becoming an issue, transportation issues, congestion on the roads. So how are you looking into this aspect also, that while there is development, but along with that, because the progress of any city can be on the basis of if it has a good infrastructure and also good transportation. So are you looking into this also?
Oh, absolutely. There's two key things for transportation that we're doing. One of them is complete now, or virtually complete by the end of the year, which is our traffic management system. This is a management system. It's the most sophisticated system in Canada that uses a series of over 200 traffic cameras at intersections. Going into live in real time, going into a command center. If there's an accident at a particular intersection, rather than, we've all heard of the idea of the green wave, where if you drive at a certain speed, you should be able to hit all the green lights going down the street.
Right.
And that's just a timing thing. Our traffic management system goes far beyond that, and allows us to open up intersections around the problem area and keep traffic moving. And the second thing we're doing is working very, very hard with TransLink on Surrey's LRT project. And we have, and Diane Watts did it, and Linda Hepner did it, and Tom Gill did it on our transportation committee, have pushed that agenda forward, so that TransLink has now agreed that Surrey's LRT is the #1 priority in the region.
Right.
And of course, there's going to be a referendum on that next year.
Absolutely.
But what we're saying is that regardless of how that referendum goes, that we are going to move ahead with the LRT regardless, in a 3P environment, and with the federal government and so on. So we're looking at other options should that referendum not be successful, because we need a first-class transportation system in Surrey.
And finally, why should the public elect Bruce Hayne, give another term to Bruce?
Well, I would like the electorate to elect me again. Certainly they should come out and vote, and I hope that they come out and vote for me. I've been working very hard over the past 3 years. I've got a lot to give in the next 4 years. I'm very invested in this community, and so I hope that the Surrey voters will see that and will support me.
Thank you very much and best wishes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. ਸੋ ਅੱਜ ਜੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ, ਬਰੂਸ ਹੇਨ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀ ਤਰੱਕੀ ਇਕਨੋਮਿਕਲੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ। ਐਜ਼ ਅ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਬੈਕਗਰਾਊਂਡ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਜੋ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਸੀ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਐਜ਼ ਅ ਕਾਉਂਸਲਰ ਪਿਛਲੇ 3 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਸ ਦਾ ਇਸਤੇਮਾਲ ਕੀਤਾ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਇਕਨੋਮਿਕ ਜ਼ੋਨਸ ਕ੍ਰੀਏਟ ਕੀਤੇ ਗਏ ਨੇ, ਇਨੋਵੇਸ਼ਨ ਅਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਨਵਾਇਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਮੁੱਖ ਮੁੱਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਲੈ ਕੇ, ਸਸਟੇਨੇਬਿਲਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਮੁੱਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ। ਅਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਅੱਗੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਪਲਾਨਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਨਵੇਂ ਲੋਕ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਉਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਨਵੇਂ ਚੈਲੰਜਸ ਵੀ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਪਰ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਰੈਡੀ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਫੇਸ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ। ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸਰੀ ਇੱਕ ਥਰਾਈਵਿੰਗ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਹੈ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਿ ਲੋਕ ਆ ਕੇ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਡਿਟਰੋਇਟ ਦਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਕਿ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਲੋਕ ਭੱਜ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਉਹੀ ਵਾਈਬ੍ਰੈਂਟ ਰਹਿ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਤਰੱਕੀ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੋਏ, ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਟੀਮ ਸਰੀ ਫਰਸਟ ਨੇ ਸਭ ਕੁਝ ਕਰਕੇ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੈ। ਅਖੀਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਕਿ ਕਿਉਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਲੈਕਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਵੇ, ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਜੋ ਕੁਝ ਮੈਂ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ, ਮੈਂ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕਰਦਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵੋਟ ਪਾਉਣ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਕਾਮਯਾਬ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਜੋ ਹੋਰ ਅੱਗੇ ਤਰੱਕੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਲੈਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਉਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਾਮਯਾਬ ਹੋ ਸਕਾਂ।